Hi, this is Dr. Jim Turnage here in San Diego, California, and welcome to Wonderful Wednesdays. It's been over 2 years since we presented the introduction to HeartMath and spirituality, and I'm excited tonight to present this class series to you. I know you'll benefit from it. I look forward to presenting it. Peace and blessings to you all, and have a wonderful evening. So this is week 2, HeartMath and spirituality, and the Voyage to Heart Intelligence, week 2. And so we're going to review the things that we've gone over so far. Why should I learn HeartMath? Because it does all sorts of wonderful things. It can lower your blood pressure. It can improve anxiety, depression. It's been used to treat ADD in both the children and adults. It's been used to help improve scores in things like GMAT, LSAT, and other SATs and things like that. It definitely decreases stress, both measurably and your own perception of it. It improves work performance, and when you use it in a business or industrial setting, you end up often having people with less turnover in your employees, improve communication, and improve productivity. So a lot of good. And if you play golf, which I don't, but if you play golf, they actually have a little program to improve your golf score. We talked a little bit about the history of HeartMath. Started in 1991 with these two fellows right here, Doc Childrey and Howard Martin. Doc Childrey's not a doctor, but he was like the go-to guy for things like meditation. And both Howard and Doc were big-time meditators. They were at Fort Ord in the Bay Area when they were in the military, and they got out and they decided, I think we need to stay here in the San Francisco Bay Area, not a bad place to stay. And initially, Doc thought, what are we going to do to be able to have people learn meditation without spending years and years to achieve the effects of meditation? Initially, because they're musicians, they were creating music, and they thought that might be a good way to decrease stress and help people meditate. And if you at the HeartMath compound up in Boulder Creek, when you walk in the door there's a huge stage off to the right, and all the instruments are set up on the stage. Everything's set up there. And they come in, these guys all come in and play every once in a while. They also wanted to develop a science of meditation. And so that's where they got the idea of HeartMath, the heart-centered work and the brain connection. And so they have a HeartMath Institute, which has done tremendous amounts of research on how the heart and the brain work together. So this heart-brain science has a real name in medicine called neurocardiology, which I did not learn in medical school. And even cardiologists, if you ask them, did they study the connection between the brain and the heart? They did not. They did not study the intrinsic neurologic structures in the heart, except for the conduction system. The conduction system is what makes your heart beat. It's like the wiring in your house. So it'd be like a comparison between the computer that's in your house and the wiring that gets to the computer in your house. Neurocardiology has to do with this nervous system that's in your heart. So this is an important number to remember in HeartMath. 10 times as much information comes from your heart to your brain than from your brain to your heart. 10 times as much information. Also, he said, when you look at the brain itself and the heart itself and the amount of neurons that are in the concentration of neurons in the brain in your head and the brain in your heart, there's 10 times as many neurons per cubic millimeter in the heart than there are in the brain. Nature doesn't do things just for nothing. There's a reason that has to be like that. But even if we didn't know the science of, we all know the words that we use all the time, like heartbroken, heartfelt, from the bottom of my heart. What are some others? Any favorite heart sayings? Nobody tonight. Okay.
My heart to your heart.
From my heart to heart, heart to your heart. Yep.
I always tell my grandchildren they are my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we really are connected. And I'll keep developing these ideas as we go along because there are physiologic reasons why heart math works. And I always tell this story about this guy and his girlfriend were going to start a holistic center, and the guy is an anesthesiologist, and his girlfriend was a Reiki practitioner, did massage therapy, and she was a registered nurse, and she was really into the alternative kind of things. He was not into this at all, but he thought that he should learn about this heart math business because it might be helpful in their business they were going to put together, this holistic center. So she was really into it. We did all the lessons similar to the lessons we're doing now each week. And then he read the stuff, and one of the instructions is that you breathe into your heart muscle, 5 to 6 seconds into the heart muscle. And he said with profanity, "Are you effing crazy? I thought you were a doctor. You can't breathe into your heart." And I said, "It's a metaphor, but I'll get back to you." So I called HeartMath and the HeartMath Institute and asked them if they'd had people in the past who were resistant to the idea of something that didn't seem physiologically correct. And I remember McCready, he's the head of research for HeartMath, said, "Is he a competitive person?" And I said, "Oh yeah, this is a competitive person." And he said, "Well, tell him that if he uses the metaphor, he can expect to have higher performance scores in HeartMath. And just tell him it makes no difference if you think about your heart or not; it'll still work." Well, it did work for him. He was pretty surprised that he could actually measurably, because we put him on a monitor, and he could see the improved heart rate variability. They're one of these performance scores about of the heart on the monitor. Even though he didn't believe in this stuff, he thought this was a total bunch of baloney. It still works. So it works even if you don't believe in it, if you do it. Any questions about the stuff we covered last week? Everybody got that wired? Okay. So this week I sent out the homework. Everybody take a look at the homework assignments.
Yes.
Good. So
I'm glad
remember there
I
was
did not.
one. Okay. Well, there was one link on there for the assignment sheet. It has actually has the assignments in there, and then there's reading assignments on there. If you have the books, great. If you want to read the books, and you don't have them, let me know. I usually have copies here. And but you don't have to do the reading. Just what we do in class will be enough to understand what you need to do for the workbook. The workbook, you may have noticed if you looked at the workbook, when I scanned it in backwards. So you have to go to the last page is actually the first page, and I'll correct that this week. Um, the other part of the homework that was this week was to do neutral. And remember, we're going to talk about neutral again and reinforce the ideas about neutral. Did everybody get a chance to practice neutral many times this week?
Yes.
Good. I've been practicing neutral a lot this week as well. And how about the other part of this? We need to start incorporating, particularly starting next time, is recalling a time in your life where you experienced joy and unconditional love. Everybody have at least one of those?
Yes.
Good. Yeah. I usually encourage people to have three because let's say your dog is the thing that makes you feel unconditional love and you're mad at your dog that day. You want to have backups. So you want to have a couple of others as well so that you can recall this feeling of love, appreciation, and gratitude and unconditional love. So we're going to look at the workbook. I couldn't figure out a way of making the workbook blow up properly on the page, but um, if you download the workbook, you'll be able to go through the answers on those pages, and there are blanks in there to put the information. So this lesson is about core values, stress, and neutral, and the lessons 1 through 3, and the surrounding information, and then to practice the neutral tool often. And this is the workbook. And let's see, Marion, you said you had trouble downloading it? No.
I didn't try.
Oh, okay. All right.
Honestly, Jim, I have this bronchial thing going on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's there. One thing I'm doing with this class series is that I'm covering less information in each section, and so we go over it multiple times.
Okay.
It's not a tremendous amount of information, but it's important to be able to. Okay, Michelle has to leave us. Okay, let me just type there. Okay, see you next week. There we go.
The workbook for the whole course, is it just for?
It's for the whole course.
Yeah.
And like I say, I scanned it backwards, so it's page 180 or whatever, and the other end is page 1. And I figured out how to reverse the pages, so when I send it out this week, I'll send it out in the correct order. And it's usually it's not very much work. When you do this class, the full class with the readings, the reading can be a little bit of work, but the reading in the workbook is quite good. It really sums up the information. If you want more information, if you have the books, the recommended books, there's a lot of more information in there that's very useful. So this book, why all the terms? Why voyage and manifest and sailboats? It doesn't tell you in the manifest. But Kim Allen, who wrote all the original educational books and coursework, loved boats or loves boats. She's still alive. She loves boats. And so she thought that a voyage would be a good way of looking at learning HeartMath. So that's why you have manifests and all these nautical things in the course. And so this would be a typical exercise. And you do a little bit of reading, and then they ask you to do something, you fill in the blanks. And so rather than reproducing every single blank, I'm just going to do slides that basically summarize the questions that they're asking. Is that what you found, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah. Has everybody, Greg, are you familiar with HeartMath?
Not really.
Okay.
No, and I have to say I'm guilty. I didn't do my homework this week either.
Well, there you. Well, this, like I say, I'm going to go little bits at a time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do like tremendous amounts of information.
No,
The slide set is only 42 this time. I've cut back. It's only 42 slides.
Oh,
So
goofing off again, huh?
yeah, slacking. So in almost every self-help thing I've ever done, all the way back to the early 70s when I started doing self-help things, the first thing you do is to find out what's most important in your life. That's usually the most important assignment, is to determine what's important in your life and then do that. And then everybody's got their own ideas about how to go about doing that. So and in HeartMath, it's really important because everything is heart-centered. My rule of using heart over head as a tiebreaker is when I did HeartMath, they totally understood that I've been doing that for years and years, because that's how they think as well. They don't ignore things like intellectual intelligence and cognitive function, but they give a priority to the heart. And we start off with these firmly held core values and what's most important in your life. And the state that you need to be in is a state of passion. You need to have this state of joy and passion around your core values. When you do that, you develop coherence between your heart and your life, your physical life, the actions in your life. And we can actually see that in HeartMath. You can see it on electroencephalograms, EEGs, brainwave You can see it on the monitors when you do heart cardiac monitors. You can actually see the effect of developing coherence between your heart. What's at the heart of your life? What is the core values and what you're doing in your life? You can, as they become coherent, you can actually see the waveforms improve, as well as many other things. So, what matters most in life? So, just off the top of your head, can everybody come up with some core values? Like if you said, okay, I want to know what is the most important thing in your life above all other things. If you could only do one thing, what would it be? What is the value that you value most? And you just write that down in the worksheet. And probably you can come up with several. 3 is probably the minimum, and 10 is probably too many because you don't have enough time to do 10 things. But you can have core values that are really, really important, 1, 2, or 3, and have enough time in the day to devote time to them. Any comments about core values and why that's so important in HeartMath or in anything in life?
Are you talking about core values as being our three things that we work on?
Yeah, it can overlap, but for
Right.
some people, when they have it, the core value is honesty.
Okay.
That it could be honesty, but a core value for somebody would be get up every day and do my calling in life. That's their number one core value. I get up every day and do something to contribute to my calling in life. And that's a thing that's a doing thing. But it could be the core value could be honesty, persistence, compassion in all things, compassion in all things. And it'll become more apparent as you figure out what it is that's most important to you in your life. When you decide, when you see that you're not living your core values, and what happens. It's not a criticism. It's just what happens when you don't live your core values. What do you experience physically, psychologically, and spiritually when you're not living your core values? Any other ideas about the core values? Questions about them?
Well, the reason I asked is because I thought maybe went back to that lesson we worked on. I can't remember the name of the class anymore, but it was the things that we worked on.
Finding your why.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Mine overlap with that. So my core values have an overlap with the 3 most important things in my life, but they're not identical. So you may have more than 3 core values. I mean, honesty, persistence, compassion, justice, all those kind of things can be core values. And it may be, like I say, get up every day and give everything you got to your calling in life. That could be a core value. And so she asks, describe a time in your life. She says, describe a time in your life when you were manifesting a core value. So for me, they called me at 3:00 in the morning and said, could you take care of this patient in the hospital? I'm not really happy if I've been asleep for half an hour when they wake me up to say if I'll do that. But my answer is always
Yes.
yes. Because if I'm going to manifest a core value, which is to get up every day and do my calling to the best of my ability, which is one of my core values, I need to do that as consistently as possible. Because if they call and they need my help, I'm there to help them because that's what I was called to do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. It could be if honesty above all things is a core value. You may have had a time when somebody said, could you just sign this for me? I know it's not really quite true, but I really need this. I'm not actually going to sign that. Even though no one may know, nothing may happen to me. Um, it's just one of my core values. I'm not going to do that.
If you say honesty is a core value, how do we know if you're lying?
There you go. Well, let's see. When was the last time I lied about something? It's been a long time. I'm trying to think about it.
Jim, one time I did a values clarification thing
Yeah.
with a client, and it turned out my highest value was eating out.
Well, a little discretionary hedonism is probably worth it. It's yeah. It's so. Can anybody give an example of a time when you were manifesting one of your core values?
I think when my daughter asked me if I would be willing to take care of my granddaughter for her while she went to work, or she
Yeah.
to work. Well, I had to sit down and assess what was important because I was working at the time.
Yeah.
Guess who won?
I know.
At the
You got
time, when I did it, I was fully cognizant of the fact that I would never be rich, and it
yeah.
would mean would curtail my trips to Europe and things like that. But
Yeah.
to me, it was worth doing.
Yeah. And that's why when you live your core values as much as possible, you really, it's a selfish thing. When you start becoming coherent, when your heart and your actions in your life become coherent, it's a selfish thing. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel actualized. You're going to have a sense that I'm in the right place in the world, no
And
matter what
I've never
appears to be
regretted
happening.
it. I've
What's
never
that?
regretted my decision
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Imagine how she remembers that.
I don't know. I should ask her someday.
Yeah, she does. If she can't remember the details,
Yeah.
if you point to your heart and say, "Do you remember that when we used to be together? When I
Yeah.
used to take care of you?" Because she'll remember it in her heart.
I'm sure she does remember. If she isn't so busy working, she probably would remember.
Yeah. Yeah. She may not remember the details, the cognitive details, the head details, but because the heart is such a powerful brain, it'll remember. The heart will remember because you came from the heart, and she's going to feel that when you're living your values, your core values, you're actually radiating energy from your heart that is coherent. And people can
That's a good thing.
yeah, and people can sense that. And this
Hmm.
isn't just this isn't one of those foo-foo, you know, it's energy that you can't measure. You can actually measure this energy. You can measure the energy with magnetometer. People can feel you. We've talked about the limbic resonance and limbic system. Mammals can feel each other's heart. You can feel another mammal's heart. And when you have intention like you did, that this is what I'm going to do, and it's coming from your heart because you love her so much, she's going to feel that.
Well, I've never regretted it.
There you go. Yeah. So I think Kim asked a good question there. Has made a good statement. Describe a time when you manifesting core values. What were the qualities of the experience? So think about that, Marion. When you were living your value there, your core value, what did it feel like?
Joy.
Joy.
Even if I was really tired, it still felt like joy because the babies were so responsive.
Yeah.
An example was how responsive they were is when he's 17 now, when he was, maybe 18 months to 2, was before 18 months. I had to quit talking. I had a nodule on my vocal cords. And so I had to quit talking and I was taking care of him. And he was beside himself because I couldn't talk. I could try to whisper.
Yeah.
But I finally had to call his mom at work and say, I'm upsetting him way too much. Can you possibly come home? So she did.
Well, one of the things I would have done, I would have taken and put him on your chest and do heart math.
Well, I
Put
was
his
holding him and doing the normal
yeah,
dancing around, but I wasn't
yeah,
singing. And that isn't what he was used to.
yeah,
And I would sing to the children when I fed them, and I couldn't do that.
yeah,
And so it was totally new to him,
yeah,
that this
yeah,
person that he saw every day couldn't do that.
yeah,
Anyway, it worked out because she came home.
yeah. But
That,
if you know colicky moms and colicky babies, have them learn heart math. Just have them learn at least neutral, because
yeah.
moms automatically have love, appreciation, gratitude, and unconditional love when they're with their children or think about their children. So you don't have to teach them that. Just teach them the heart math part, the breathing part, and
Yeah.
then have the baby take the baby's shirt off and the mom's shirt off, and put the baby's heart right over the mom's heart, and then do heart math.
I wish somebody had taught me that when I had colicky children.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I somehow, because I've been doing this meditation for a very long time, and intuitively, when I was an intern, they assign all these patients to you for a year, and I'm a family doctor, so we got babies, and I delivered babies, and I had a lot of pediatric practice, and you have to develop techniques, and they tell you what to tell, um, you know, moms and families about colic, and a lot of it's a bunch of hooey. You give them, drops, simethicone, and all these other things, to help with that. And what the baby really needs is this strong sense of unconditional love that everything's okay. Um, and you don't have a colicky baby, you have a colicky family. And so I would try to teach meditation, which was considered fairly radical in a Navy residency program. But I would teach just simple breathing, yoga breathing to the moms, and that does work. Why? Because you're radiating love from your heart, and when you get coherent by doing the breathing technique, the three-step breathing technique, your brain, your heart become more coherent. All that fear and anxiety starts dropping away, and that feeling of love, appreciation, gratitude can really get through to the baby. Yeah, that's great. Anybody else have a feeling state when they were acting on their values, when they're living
Yes.
their values? Yeah,
When I push my limits, to do something, it's that feeling I get when I step forward and do it, even though I'm frightened about doing it. And
yeah,
I've done that many, many times in my life, and it's always paid off.
yeah, exactly. And where do you feel that when you feel it? Is there a place in your body you feel that, or places in your body where you feel that?
Well, probably the racing heart might be a
Racing
clue.
heart. Yeah, the racing heart.
Yeah. Uh,
And,
Other
and then
people,
when you start having that feeling of breaking through, no matter what, does that shift?
of course, yeah.
Yeah,
When I can see that I made the right choice, then
yeah,
it comes.
yeah. And where do you normally feel that when you feel that breakthrough?
Uh,
If you can recall it.
I'll try to relief, I guess,
Yeah,
satisfaction.
yeah. Relief, satisfaction. Is there a physical place in your body where you feel it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm a pretty cognitive person, so
yeah,
probably would
yeah,
probably override anything else.
yeah. But just become aware of that, because these little clues in your body, you can help reinforce, acting on your values. I know that when I'm doing heart math in a particularly stressful, like a business setting or professional setting, all of a sudden it's like a light goes on, starts shining inside my head. I don't know how to describe it any other way. It's just like there's like light coming from inside my head, and I just feel better, but I feel this light, and I can attend to what people are saying better. and I'm okay with being in a situation that's contentious or unpleasant. In fact, it doesn't bother me at all. And I get this feeling, it's hard to describe it, a feeling in my head that a light turns on in my head. So just become aware of that, because as you do more and more HeartMath, you're going to notice physical changes in your body, in your life. And you're going to start associating those changes with the positive things that from HeartMath. So I love this one. I think we have a few retirees here tonight, but that doesn't mean you don't work hard. So what motivates you to work hard?
To approve myself.
To improve yourself, yeah. Sense of accomplishment, improvement, self-improvement.
Yep.
I'll tell you, when we ask this in groups of people who are really not from a more like a metaphysical background, spiritual background, they are often very attracted to HeartMath because they want to improve their performance at work or in relationships. They have a specific motivation. They want to become, they want to make it higher in their organization, or they want to, do better on their tests for school and things like that. And so that motivation, if there's an extrinsic motivation like that, what you learn by doing HeartMath is to learn to have intrinsic motivation for everything. That you have this, you're doing it because that's what your core values are. And you just happen to be working in a bank, or you're a rock and roll musician, or you're, house painter, or you're a teacher. You happen to be doing that work. And oh, by the way, I'm a teacher in this school because I've always wanted to be a teacher. I played teacher when I was a little kid. I've always wanted to do that. And now I get to do that. And that's what's motivating me. And when you start, the aha button gets pushed and the brain lights up for people who are being externally motivated primarily, and start learning that their true happiness, their joy, and their accomplishments will come from within.
And providing that aha, or facilitating that aha in people, is one of my core values.
There you go.
And the biggest kick in the world, you mentioned before, is to watch the physical changes when somebody had this sudden realization about themselves.
Yeah.
To me, there's nothing in the world like that. That is just
exactly
such a thing to see people light up.
Yeah, I probably told us before, I taught high school in South Central Los Angeles for a year. And when I signed up for this, there was a little, I remember the flyer, and it was not that professionally done. It sounded like somebody in an office made up a flyer. And in the middle of the big thing said, "Have you always wanted to be a high school teacher?" Well, the answer to that is no.
Hell no.
And yet, when I was doing it, and like you say, and some kid would get it, he would pass the class. I remember the kid running in, because if you didn't have all your work in by the end of the class period, you got nothing. You got zero for it. There's no late work. And I remember a kid running into the classroom as I'm packing, getting ready to walk out. Now, he got like a D or a C minus or something, but I felt so great because he was taking his life seriously. He was taking his education seriously, which he, by his record, was not very good. But he had something in him, and I'm just like, I'm feeling so great because he felt it was important to follow the rules, to get the work done. I was just ecstatic about that. And he's so proud, get his D minus or his C plus or whatever, C minus or D plus or whatever it was. He was thrilled. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just great to see it. if I hadn't gotten to medical school, I would have kept teaching. It was great. You get to see little knuckleheads do all sorts of wonderful things. So, what motivates you to work hard? I whine a lot about going in the middle of the night to see patients. And every time I get there, something wonderful happens. Something wonderful happens. I meet some wonderful person. I learn something, of value to both of us. Yeah. So she asked this again, when are you manifesting a core value? And I think she asked this mainly to become aware. This is Kim Allen I'm talking about. To become aware of everything you're doing in your life and asking yourself, am I manifesting one of my core values in the things that I'm doing right now? And the obverse of this is, when are you not manifesting your core values? So if you're not manifesting your core values and utilizing that 10 times as much information coming up from your heart, it's good to become aware of that.
Could I ask a
And
question?
sure, let me go back.
Have you ever been so exhausted that to go in would be a medical mistake, that you felt you had to say no?
I'm trying to think of a time. Yeah, I had pneumonia one time. I couldn't breathe,
Yeah.
and I had somebody go in for me, and that
So
was just fine.
yeah, it works out just fine, doesn't it?
It was just fine.
I remember one time when my oldest daughter and her husband and her child were sick, and they were up with the child all night. We all had the same thing.
Yeah,
They called me to please come and be with her during the day, and I had to say no.
yeah,
I didn't feel badly about it.
yeah. Well, I have backup. I work every day. I work 7 days a week, and I love what I do. But I do have somebody that will fill in for me. She's never failed me ever, and I have a backup to the backup as well.
Right.
I haven't had to use the backup in years, but it's there, and I certainly would do it. For the vaccination business for COVID,
Yeah.
I had no idea how I'd react. I had a feeling I would have side effects because I have side effects every immunization I get, and I'd heard all these stories about it, and so I told her I need to be able to call on you for 2 days in a row of being non-functional, and she said no problem. I said, are you going to get vaccinated? I'll reciprocate. She goes, I'm absolutely not getting vaccinated. She apparently had a really bad reaction to, what was it? Something simple like TDAP, the tetanus shot. She had
Well, I
like a
had,
really, really bad reaction. So
yeah.
So did you have any reaction to it, Jim?
I did. I didn't feel well. And I did something which I don't normally do. I got up, I rounded in the hospital. I scheduled it, the first one, for the weekend. And I went and rounded. Then I went and got the shot, and I started feeling pretty horrible within the first half an hour.
Um,
And it went downhill from that. And I went home and went to bed. And I just don't do that normally.
I can
But it
do
was,
that, and I don't even have to get a shot.
yeah, because my immune system got really fired up. The second one, not so much. I didn't feel that great for a day or so, but it wasn't nearly as dramatic as the first one. So I love my immune system. I just love it. It's so great. It just gets really fired up with almost anything. I can just talk about it. It gets fired up. So
I
when
think
you're not, go ahead, Tom.
being around in a hospital keeps it fired up also.
I think so too.
I believe that.
Yeah.
And being around little kids all the time keeps it fired up.
Yeah. It's just, there's no way around it because some things you can't get immune to completely. Particularly children, you can't get immune completely to their little viruses they have. Even though you may have had the same virus when you were a kid, It's a different variant. The serology is different. And there's just enough different that you can't get completely immune. When I worked at Children's Emergency Department here, every time I would work there, I think I did three months there. Every time I went in there, I get sick.
That sounds familiar.
And I didn't have to miss work. I did. That's not true. I had to go home one day because I was just too sick. I was wheezing too much. And I remember they tried to get me to stay. It'll be okay. Why don't you stay? I said, Doctor, I think you're crazy. I'm an adult. These children are sick. I'm sicker than most of them that are in the emergency department. Well, I'll have to put this on your record. I go, I don't care. I'm an adult. I don't care. And I went home and wheezed. So I love kids, though. I love being around them, but they're little germ factories. They have all their own little herd immunity that they develop in their cohort, and we all have the same thing. We all have our cohort of peers that we developed our immune system with. So when you try to mix the two,
I heard since kids are back in school, the flu is coming around.
Well, it definitely will. And all the rhinoviruses, adenoviruses, Coxsackie, all this stuff is going to start again.
Yeah.
Because they're the reservoirs for this. If they offered me a shift over at Children's, would I do it? No. I would not. I don't need that challenge right now. Yeah. So then she asks, what are you doing the rest of the time? If you're not manifesting your core values, what are you doing the rest of the time? I think she means by this, are you living a life unaware of your core values, just living a life where you're not fully aware? And it's a subtle challenge to live a life of awareness, being aware of your core values, and testing every once in a while and say, is this really within my wheelhouse of my core values? And why am I doing this? Why do I do this? And what things are getting in the way of living your core values? There are lots of things that get in the way. You might think you don't have enough time, or you don't have education, that you're unclear about what to do about your core values. But one of the biggest things is stress. Stress gets in the way of living your core values. If I tell somebody, I want you to meditate for 5 minutes a day, and they tell me, they look me straight in the eye and say, I don't have 5 minutes. That's a problem, because it's virtually factually, almost always factually incorrect. But they're so overloaded. They believe they're so overloaded in their life that they don't realize the value of taking 5 minutes in the morning and the evening every day without fail. They don't realize the value of that because they're running around chasing their tail. And stress is one of the main things that HeartMath is really good for. So thinking about each one of ourselves right now, what are the stresses? What are some of the stresses in your life right now? Boredom.
I'm not having that problem.
Boredom.
Since the COVID vaccine, I've been trying to get estimates on getting my place fixed. So anyway, I'm far from bored.
Yeah.
At least this week.
Do you feel that stressful?
Some days, especially if I don't feel good, I find it stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm expecting myself to be at least 60 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit older.
Yeah.
But my brain is about 40.
Yeah, so these stresses that we perceive, they're obviously objective things that increase our level of attention and increase stress. And we need strategies for dealing with stress. And some people drink alcohol and smoke marijuana, whatever they do. But I would advocate that when in doubt, immediately start breathing. Immediately start do HeartMath breathing. Get to neutral immediately. Don't wait at all. Don't wait. Well, I'll do it this afternoon. Immediately go to neutral. Start that first breath when you go. You go. Oh, wait a minute. I know this. That triggers. When you recognize the stress, you recognize the overwhelm. Immediately have that be the trigger for breathing that first breath. Slow and deep, 5 to 6 seconds in. So, how does stress affect you in general? What kind of symptoms do you have when you feel stress? Symptoms being the subjective thing that you're experiencing.
Irritation.
Irritation? Yeah.
Watch too much TV.
Oh, wow. Feel stressed, so you go to the TV.
Where it seems to come from.
Yeah. Any
I think
physical? Go ahead.
I escape to video games just a simple solitaire game, sometimes played, will relieve the stress.
Distraction.
Yeah.
Defocus. Yeah. What kind of physical symptoms do you experience when you feel stressed?
Who?
Anybody.
Just tightness in my body.
Tightness.
Yeah.
Like muscle tightness.
Yeah. No, I think it's just kind of a general overall tightness, and my brain can even feel it.
Yeah.
So not so much to the fact that, how do I describe it? I lose my clarity if I don't get it under control.
See, that's interesting. So you feel tightness, and then you notice that your mental functioning is not as good. Your clarity is not.
That's something I've noticed recently.
Yeah.
And so then it's time for me to do something like go play a video game for a minute or two, which probably is a half hour, and and then go back, then put everything back in perspective and go attack what I was attempting to do.
Yeah.
Or if that's impossible for that day, then choose the next thing.
Yeah. Has anybody noticed that your performance decreases when you're stressed?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And by stress, we're actually talking about here, we're not just stressing a little bit so that you feel motivated. We're talking about, going beyond your ability to cope. Going beyond the ability to cope.
Well, I didn't know that's what you were talking about. Going beyond your ability to cope. Yeah, I had a little of that after Kate died.
Yeah.
I was trying to help my son-in-law so much with the children, and I had to finally pull away.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm a big advocate for having all these things being triggers to do HeartMath. Have all these symptoms of lack of mental clarity, sense of overwhelm, physical tightness, which some people call the neuromuscular lock. The sensation of a neuromuscular lock when you're stressed, and have that be the trigger for the first breath of HeartMath. So go ahead.
Sorry.
You got to get out of here. Uh-oh. So Greg had to leave us. Okay. So think about you doing HeartMath as a remedy for this. He said. There we go. And of course, stress can affect relationships. because if you're having experienced a lot of stress, individual, you're often your relationships will not be as good because you won't be able to communicate as well, and you won't be able to have as much empathy when you're feeling as stressed as you may be. Tom, did you
That's,
say something?
No, not this time.
Oh, okay.
I did. I said that's true.
Yeah, it is true.
Your empathy, especially when you're stressed, and you have certain people that are always needing your empathy or sympathy, it can become overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked about this curve before. You want to stay here where you feel this healthy sense of motivation and somewhat focused. And Tom mentioned inactivity and boredom down here. So a little bit of motivational stress can be helpful, but this is not helpful. When you hit the peak, you're not going to improve anymore no matter how you push yourself. That's the time to back off.
So, Tom, when you have inactivity and boredom, what do you do?
Well, besides watching TV,
Oh.
I will go outside and fool around with my plants.
Yeah.
That makes it better. And wait for days like I got today that we're going back to the airport for the volunteers are going back to the airport next Friday, not this Friday, but the next one. So that took care of it, just to know that I'm going to have something to do. You know,
Wow, that's great.
that was great news for me. I'm all jazzed to get to go back.
Well, you were so involved beforehand. You know, COVID, you were just so scheduled out.
That's right. But it was not overwhelmed. It was just keeping me at a pace where I didn't feel bored.
Yeah. So you're operating in this part of the curve right here.
Yeah.
Feeling healthy tension, motivation, focused.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, there were days I minded the not doing so much stuff socially, but I didn't mind that pulling back during the year. I mean, there were days absolutely where I would get dressed and I was going to go do this and this and this. And I go, why do you need to go do this and this and this? What's that important? What is that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I obviously I like to do a lot of things. And so one of the wonderful things about the COVID pandemic is that I got to spend more time doing things that I quote didn't have enough time for before COVID.
Like your book.
Like the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up on Amazon. I ordered you guys copies already.
What did you go with? The blue or the red?
It's the blue cover. The blue cover. The
one
white cover with the red letters and the blue "the."
Yeah.
With little bands of blue. It looks really nice.
You showed it to me, and I thought it looked better than her idea for red.
Yeah, it looks really good. My sister even called me. My sister, who almost never compliments anything I do artistically, including my whole musical career. I mean, literally, I think she came and saw me play music maybe from 14 years of age till 38. She may have seen me 2 or 3 times live.
Wow.
Yeah. Because she just really didn't have an interest in what I was doing. Which is kind of wild because, she as a musician, her husband's kind of a musician, and she'd hang out with musicians all the time, and they're not professional level musicians. But I got almost no positive feedback from her in my entire musical career. And she called me and left a message for me last night that she went on Amazon, ordered my book, and she thinks it's great. And she really liked the cover, she liked the design, she liked the exercises in there. I was like, wow. It was like, my sister is a really good critic, She used to write film reviews for like these artsy films. Used to write in these journals of the film reviews of more artistic types of films. And so she actually gave a good review of the book, with actual stuff. It wasn't like, oh, my brother's so nice, he did a book. She specifically pointed out things, which was really nice. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I would be too.
Yeah. And it's done. And so during the pandemic, my business dropped off so dramatically. We had to work much harder to make half the money because the volume dropped off. But then there was all this other time, and so I got to do the book. I spent more time praying and meditating, contemplating things, readying my brain for the second book, started writing the outline for the second book, started the interviews for the second book. So that's been helpful because I was not going to just do nothing during the pandemic. That wouldn't have been good for me. So remember the power of neutral. I forgot to put the neutral in front of the graphic. But this is neutral. Neutral is not dead brain. Neutral is dynamic. This is not in HeartMath, but I call it poise. This is poise. You're ready. When you're in this place of neutral, you're ready to take action. You're ready to be in a place of balance in your life. And of course, neutral is heart focus. Think about your physical heart and heart breathing. To breathe slowly and deeply 5 to 6 seconds in, pause 5 to 6 seconds out, and probably if you have time, do 20 breaths. If you don't have time, do 40 breaths. No. I think one of my teachers did that joke. So when you're very rushed and you feel you don't have time, he would say they won't do 100 breaths or whatever. But at least do some breaths so you feel the shift. When you do this breathing, have you noticed the shift?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. As soon as you feel the shift, you're really done. At that point, you can decide, do I want to do something with this? Or am I just good now? I'm coherent now. I'll just hang here. You can continue on, obviously, and just reinforce it and stay in that place. But try to do enough breaths that you get to the shift. If you get to 20 breaths, you haven't felt the shift, you still get benefit from doing the cyclic breathing like this. You don't get quite the effect that when you feel the shift. When you feel a shift, you can actually see it on the monitor. You can see people shifting into coherence. And coherence is not it's not a binary thing. You either have it or you don't have it. There are relative amounts of coherence. And then there's just complete coherence where people are like, completely balanced. So that's all neutral is. Heart focus right into the heart muscle itself in your chest, just a left to center. Breathing in 5 to 6 seconds, pause, 5 to 6 seconds out. That's neutral. So you're going to neutralize stress. Neutralize stress. Because what happens when you do neutral? All the stress stops. The damage stops. You quit injuring your mind and your body. All that damage stops. Any questions about this new material this week?
No.
Everybody got that? Yeah. I don't want to put too much in each thing. I want to make sure we get these ideas down, and that we can practice more and more. So this week you're going to practice neutral many times a day. I would use anything that feels stressful or anxiety producing or tension inducing as a trigger to start doing HeartMath breathing. And use neutral whenever you feel stressed. The reading assignments are on the homework sheet. There's a link for the homework sheet and a link for the manifest for the syllabus. And then start building up your list of 3 times in your life that you can recall where you experienced joy and unconditional love. Next week, we're going to talk about the physiology of performance and the quick coherence tool, which is the next step beyond neutral. Once again, thank you for being with us here at Open at the Top International Spiritual Center, a covenanted community of the Centers for Spiritual Living. We're here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Next week will be part 3 of HeartMath and Spirituality. We look forward to seeing you here. If you'd like to contact me, please send me an email at drjim, T-R-J-I-M, at drjimturnage.com, drjimturnage.com, and have a wonderful week.